I think we are good to go. Very good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rubia Farhad, and I welcome each one of you on behalf of Maharana Pratap College of Pharmacy, Kanpur. I sincerely hope that you all are doing well, and more importantly, keeping healthy. These are uncertain times, unsettling times. The outbreak of COVID-19 has had a deep impact on the way we perceive our world and everyday existence. Life, as we knew it, has come to a standstill. The time has come to pick up the pieces, to begin afresh, to prepare ourselves for a new normal. Today, our distinguished panelists will tell us what they think is the new normal. The topic for today's panel discussion is pharmaceutical sales and marketing, the way forward. Before going into the session, I'll take the privilege of introducing our esteemed panelists. Our first panelist for the session is Mr. Farhat Umar. Mr. Farhat Umar is a Senior Vice President, Group HR Head at Mankind Pharma Limited, New Delhi, India. He is an accomplished educator with around 33 years of experience with demonstrated ability to teach, motivate, and direct leaders while maintaining high interest and achievement. Mr. Farhat has vast experience of working with various pharmaceutical industries. He has worked with Emmanuel Pharmaceuticals at the role of Vice President HR, Learning and Development, with Cadila Pharmaceuticals as Senior Manager, Learning and Development HR. Mr. Farhat has also worked with GSK, Johnson & Johnson at senior managerial level. Mr. Farhat has expertise in creating learning and development culture in organization to increase the effectiveness and teamwork. He holds a major in corporate training for training management, change management, reward management, and successful planning. A very warm welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Rubia.
Our next panelist is Mr. Atul Suri. Mr. Atul Suri is a Vice President and Strategic Business Unit Head, leading 6 business divisions at Alembic Pharmaceuticals Limited, Mumbai. Having served for over 25 years before joining the corporate world, Mr. Atul banks upon his vast and rich operational military experience in all roles and tasks assigned to him. In his corporate stint till now, he has been closely associated with leadership and organizational development, talent management, and corporate communications before assuming a leadership role in sales and marketing. Mr. Atul's service in the Army has been multifaceted. He has led a global strategic assignment at the United Nations Mission in Africa, where he was awarded the United Nations Force Commander's Commendation for his outstanding contribution to the peace process. Mr. Atul is a natural motivational speaker and a profound thought leader. He very often shares his experiences and perspective during talks on leadership, analytics, strategy, and communications at seminars and leading business schools. A very warm welcome, sir.
Thank you ever so much.
Our next panelist is Mr. Anand Agrawal. Mr. Anand Agrawal is a Senior Director and Business Head at Cipla Limited, Mumbai. Mr. Anand holds 20 years of experience in sales and marketing in leadership roles. As sales and marketing leader, he is responsible for building right sales process and creating solid yet practical strategies. His strength lies with building a team which creates synergy with him. Mr. Anand's leadership experiences cover launching a new division, building leadership in core therapy areas, bringing lives in a mature and declining portfolio, to transforming a weakest geography among the fastest growing geoclusters. His core strength lies in sales and marketing, strong executions, team building, and building KOL Connect. Mr. Anand has successfully handled multiple therapies like urology, antibacterial, mass products, mass cardiology, and critical care in cardiologist. A very welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
And our next panelist is Mr. Soham Wagh. Mr. Soham Garg is the Global Pharma Marketing Manager at GSK, Mumbai, Maharashtra, India. Mr. Soham is a pharma marketing professional with more than 18 years of experience in global and country-level roles. Mr. Soham is also a TEDx speaker. He holds an experience of working with pharmaceutical industries like Sanofi, Lupin, and Eli Lilly. Mr. Soham has delivered guest lectures at more than 25 reputed management institutes across India, including IIMS, Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Narsi Munji Institute of Management Studies, and Symbiosis. He has delivered talks at 3 pharma marketing conferences in the United States as well. Mr. Soham is passionate about running. He has run numerous marathons, including the world's highest altitude marathon, the Ladakh Marathon. Mr. Soham is a regular contributor on LinkedIn. His articles has garnered more than 4 million views, and he also takes keen interest in mentoring and guiding young professionals. A very warm welcome, sir. Now, without further ado, may I please invite the moderator of the session, Dr. Kumar Lalit, the Group Director at Maharana Pratap Group of Institutions, Kanpur. I would request Dr. Kumar Lalit, sir, to please take the session forward. Thank you.
A very good afternoon to all the panelists, to all the faculty members and the students who have joined us for this particular session. I heartily welcome all the 4 panelists on behalf of Maharana Pratap Group of Institutions, Mr. Farhad Umar, Mr. Atul Suri, Mr. Anand Agarwal, and Mr. Soham Garg. First of all, let me thank you for taking out this particular time, that too also on a Sunday. So we are highly thankful to all 4 of you. Okay. So now taking this session forward, I would just like to briefly touch upon a few points which are there in my mind, and then just briefly spell out the plan for today's session, and then we start with the panel discussion. So when we say COVID-19, it is the first and foremost humanitarian crisis, and the role played by pharmaceutical organizations is fundamentally very critical and very, very important. All of us know that. Many changes are unfolding. In the industry, everything is disrupted. The research, the manufacturing, the supply chain. We see stiff competition, minimum, maximum stocking of medicines, increased regulatory attention, risk mitigation, transparency, and God knows so many other aspects. I remember reading an article a few days back in which it said in 1969, almost 50 years back, Indian pharmacy companies had only 5% market share in India. 1969, it was 5% market share in India, and the global pharma companies had close to 95%. But now, after 50 years in 2020, it is the reverse. And that too at a larger scale when the population has actually grown over in these 50 years. We now have 85% share of the market in India, and the global units hardly have close to 50%. So in terms of both meeting the domestic needs as well as building a leading position in the global pharmaceutical landscape, Indian pharmaceutical firms have been actually very, very successful. A crisis can be converted into opportunity, and everybody is talking about that. And COVID-19 crisis provides an opportunity to the Indian pharmaceutical industry to play even a more important role. And I would say pharmacy of the world. India is the pharmacy of the world, would be the pharmacy of the world. And it's time to leapfrog into this particular future. And while as a common man, what goes on in the mind of a common man, and who thinks that what is changing in pharma is basically adoption of digital tools, telehealth, app-based ecosystems that make patient data available, telemedicine, it could be video conferencing, it could be remote working tools, or looking back at Ayurvedic or Ayush options solution in current COVID times. These may be said as the drivers of change of existing models in pharma sector. As the new normal gets set in, the industry, along with newer ways being adopted due to COVID disruptions, these are the things which actually run in the common man's mind. I believe organizations in pharma sector in India have taken up all the challenges as an opportunity for their own organization, as an opportunity for our country and our countrymen, and as an opportunity for serving human beings across the globe. So that was some point from my side, and I think we will now be starting off. I would like to again spell down briefly how it will go about. In the first round, I will be putting up a few questions, one question per panelist, and each panelist will have about 10 minutes time to respond to that. After that, we take on the second round. In the second round, we'll again have some questions which will actually benefit the students, and that will be about 5 minutes each. So first round of 10 minutes per speaker, second round for 5 minutes, and then towards the end, what we do that we summarize in 2-3 minutes to each of the panelists. I hope, sir, it is okay, this plan.
Perfect.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So now I will be taking up the first question, and the first question will be to Mr. Atul Suri, sir. Atul Suri, sir.
Yeah.
As economies around the world are suffering from the impact of COVID-19, businesses are experiencing losses, workers are without jobs. So actually, what impact has it led on the businesses of pharmaceutical companies as on date? So that's the thing we would like to understand from you.
Yeah. So, well, I don't just want to give a very straight-jacketed answer. Yes, there have been job cuts or there have been some losses recorded somewhere. I think it's very critical at this stage, essentially because we have a student population as the audience, and the entire theme of this whole webinar or panel discussion is on pharmaceutical sales and marketing. So I think it's of prime importance to first understand what the Indian pharma market is all about, what these numbers were, and what was the impact when COVID actually got. Has there been a significant impact? If there's been an impact, what is that impact? And going forward, depending on the situation, how do we see things opening up? So I will not be able to give you a straight-jacketed, yes, there have been job cuts, oh, there have been losses. So let me just broadly tell you all, the audience who's listening in, primarily I've been told you are B.Pharms, MBAs, right across from the first year till the final year. So essentially, for your broader knowledge, the pharma industry in India is roughly about $37 billion, of which about $20 billion is Indian, the domestic market. I don't want to start talking in billions and dollars. You probably will not grasp how huge it is. So let me just tell you in terms of rupees, how much that value is. And I will focus my discussion or the points that I have to convey to you all about the Indian pharma domestic business, what I talked to you of being roughly $20 billion. This roughly translates to about 1,48,000 crores, but for the full year. So if you were to do a normal mathematical calculation, you're talking in the range of about 12 to 13,000 crores a month. Now that's a huge amount of money. It's a great industry that we are in. So 12 to 13,000 crores. What's the next step? The next step for you all to understand is how is this 12 and 13,000 crores a month divided between an acute therapy and between a chronic therapy, because it has an implication. So broadly, the acute therapy in India has about 57% market share. The chronic has about 43% market share. I also want to take you one step lower, and I'm doing all of this with a particular design in mind so that you can understand what the impact was during the COVID. It would be interesting to know what the market share of the top 5 therapies are, because essentially the top 5 therapies constitute about 55% of the market share. The top 5 therapies constitute 55% of the market share. Which are these therapies? And interestingly, the panelists were having a little bit of a discussion before we came live to you all. And I remember Soham and of course Anand quite clearly pointing out that it is for the first time that the cardiac segment or the cardiac therapy area has actually, come up great. So in the month of maybe April, May, it was cardiac that was leading the whole pack with a 16% market share, followed, of course, by an associated of anti-diabetic, about 12%, gastro was at about 10%, anti-infectives about 9%, and of course respiratory about 8%. So these 5 therapies, which have about 55% of the market share, are generally at that stage. So let's say, when did COVID actually impact India? It was actually at the end of maybe the previous financial year, at the end of March. So let's just look at the months of the first quarter of the current financial year, essentially April, May, June, and we'll also talk about July. It's just about finished. There was obviously a steep decline. We know what the reasons for the decline are: because of the lockdown, zero patient footfall, no elective surgeries, stuff like that. So there was a steep decline to the tune of 11%, which is huge. A steep decline in the month of April to about 11%. And by May, the decline on a month-on-month basis was 9%. However, the bounce back, I can't really classically call it bounce back, but a minor recovery of sorts started in the month of June, and overall there was a 2.4% growth. However, on a MAT basis, when I say MAT, it is a rolling previous 12 months. On the MAT basis, the industry grew by about 6.1% year on year. So broadly, there hasn't been a great dip. There's been a slight recovery as we go there, but the reason why I spoke to you all about the contribution of the various therapies is because of what I'm just going to tell you. What we did see in the month of June, like I was telling you, cardio grew by 14%. And let's note, it's got a 16% share in so far as its therapy in the entire IPM. The other one that grew was also diabetics by about 9% in June. Respiratory grew by 4%. And vitamins, of course, also grew by 6%. Now look at it, the 3 major growth drivers, therapies, cardio, diabetic, and respiratory, 14, 9, and 6%, 4%, are also amongst your top 5 therapies. So the bang that we took, or the hit that we took across the industry, was somehow softened a little bit thanks to these therapies. And I'm sure, I think Anand was the only one who was singing his way to the banks, because he leads the entire cardio vertical with Cipla, one of our top 5 companies in India. So I think Anand would be a very pleased man by the end of all of this. But having said that, has there been an impact? And now I again want to qualify my statement. I'm only talking of sales and marketing. There were huge challenges, huge challenges in the entire supply chain, API, workers not being available, working in shifts, patient footfall reducing, 150 challenges. But I am only going to focus on a sales and marketing perspective here. So how do I see the rest of the financial year 21 going? Quite simply, it all depends on how COVID-19 manifests itself in India. Clearly, the depth and the duration of the pandemic will dictate the recovery. I'll say that again, it is just the depth and the duration of the pandemic which will dictate our recovery. Unfortunately for India, the number of fresh cases are going on, rising day by day. That needs to get arrested. What could happen? What could the magic thing happen? And I call this the 3 Ds of the vaccine. Whenever this vaccine comes, that I would call as the booster for growth for the IPM. And the 3 Ds, firstly, are of course the discovery of the vaccine, the deployment of the vaccine, and the dissemination of the vaccine. That is getting it up to scale so that it reaches the entire population. So once the vaccine, and if it does come, and I hope sooner than later, the discovery happens, the deployment happens, and the dissemination across the entire world happens at a great scale, that would indeed, for us in the IPM, lead to a huge amount of boost in terms of our growth. But until that happens, we'll have to deal with this. We'll have to work towards the recovery of growth. We need to be totally relevant. So I've come up with these 3 R's of the recovery. Insofar as recovery within the duration of the pandemic is concerned, you will quickly realize, if you've not already realized, that the lockdowns are happening specific to certain regions. It's a very dynamic. Today, Guwahati markets are closed. Tomorrow, Agra markets are closed. Chennai is having a problem. So it's going to have a huge amount of a regional dynamic to it. And there will be specific actions to be taken in these areas which are in containment zones. The second R that I have is this reluctance on part of the patients to go out to the doctors. They're suffering within in certain therapies. Of course, if there's certain areas where they can't suffer, they are reaching out with telehealth, telemedicine, and such like things. And the third R is, of course, the restrictions that are being placed thanks to the pandemic and thanks to COVID in terms of face-to-face interactions. Quite clearly, our business is all prescription-driven. Prescriptions come from patients. There has to be a patient footfall. There have to be the patients moving in there. So if we have to sort of weigh this downturn in the industry, we'll have to be giving due importance to each one of these three R's that I've spoken to you. But of course, from a very business point of view, I'll just take another minute or so. 10 minutes I've been told. But typically from a business point of view, how do I look at it? I feel that financial year 21, the domestic pharma industry in specific, could grow like it has grown over the past few years, 7%, 9%. It will be a single-digit growth the way I look at it. Obviously, as the lockdown opens up, there will be an increase of number of prescriptions being dispensed. There will be a lot more surgeries that people have put on hold. That will obviously do a huge amount of business. Traditionally, also, I'd like here to say that Q2 and Q3 have been our strongest quarters across whenever we've operated. And this essentially has to do, like I told you, the acute therapy has about 57% market share. And these are the famous monsoon months. So all those therapies tend to do well. And therefore, we traditionally have an extremely strong Q2 and a Q3. So this should sail us through to at least 3 quarters of the year. However, I again want to refer back to Anand and the luck that he has looking after the cardio vertical at Cadila. The chronic therapies, the way I look at it, they bailed us out in Q1. But I think the chronic therapies are going to lead us through this recovery. And therefore, I dare say that the domestic pharma companies that have a greater contribution coming in from their chronic therapies will actually be the ones that will save the day for us. They are expected, I think, to grow far more than the market would grow. Having said all of that from a business point of view, of course, from the other aspects beyond sales and marketing, research and development is continuing at a very decent pace. Manufacturing is having a bit of a problem in terms of labor, manpower availability, a lot of restrictions being placed on them. New launches are set to come out. However, the number and the rapidness with which they used to come out will certainly get delayed as we go on due to the other attendant risks of not permitting too many trials, of not having too many face-to-face interactions, of the regulatory bodies not being able to crank in and come in for their inspections and the approvals for not the vaccine that we're talking of, but all other new launches may get a little delayed. But I'm quite certain a lot of our companies are working overtime to ensure that the launches that they've planned for, which would be growth drivers for our industry per se, will be coming out. So all in all, I'm quite excited about it. Yes, these are tough times. In fact, Indian pharma has been going through extremely tough times. A lot of price regulation, a lot of regulatory restrictions coming in. But that notwithstanding, I must tell each one of you students who are listening to me here today that you've taken a great decision by coming into the Indian pharma industry. It's an industry that has moved on despite this pandemic, and we are set to grow. I am very confident about it. I'm not too sure what Anand or Bharat or Soham would comment on this, but these are my views based on market data and based on a little bit of analysis that I've done. I don't see jobs going in the pharma industry. The way we do our jobs may change a little bit, but the jobs are not going. But we'll talk all of that in the next segment, which will probably be a little more people-specific and skill-specific, and I'll share my thoughts on that as we go along. I think that's all I have, Dr. Lalit. I hope I've answered your question in some measure.
Thank you, Mr. Atul Suri. I think you very nicely set the background. and giving us the figures of about the billions, 137 billion overall and about 20 billion in India, close to 148,000 crores. That was it.
Yeah, 1,48,000 crores. Yes,
1,48,000, and monthly it would come to close to 13,000 crores.
that's right. Well, give or take.
13,000. So that's very nice. Our students, please note that. And you have also very nicely segregated the 5 important aspects like cardiac segment. How much is that? How much is diabetic important? How much is gastro and respiratory in those terms? And then you very clearly indicated about the 3 Ds and the 3 Rs: the discovery, deployment, dissemination. So I think it's a very nice way, and the students must have noted that as a great learning. And moreover, the students will be happy to know that they have joined an industry which will keep rising. And it's only a time, what you said, that again the industry will bounce back and it will be moving forward in the new direction. So thank you so much. And now my second question is to Mr. Farhat Umar. Given the COVID-19 pandemic, virtual interactions between medical representatives and healthcare providers are increasing. However, not all field force is equipped with digital mediums or digital acumen. How is the industry working on training their representatives to effectively engage and deliver information in this virtual settings? So, sir, if you could elaborate, you can take some background and go.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lalit, for asking this question. And before starting the insight related to the question, I would like to pass it to I would like to take the name of two scholars, Dr. Stephen Covey and Peter. They have really predicted much before that the world will have technology, world will have e-commerce, so technology advancement. But everything we failed because we are not prepared. Our whatever automation we have, but our human asset will be converted into experience. It will exactly happen in today's world that this human capital or human management is converted into experience. That exactly is happened after this COVID, which was there in the Indian market. And it is very sad part to state that many pharmaceutical companies will shut down in 15 days. And many people, they lost their job and nobody was prepared actually. That is a very tragic part of our country, that we have all the resources and very well. Internationally also, even if you take the US market also, Indian companies are in control in the generic market with the quality and all. But it is a very sad part that we are facing. So one thing is very important to understand that means who are leaders basically. One more thing is happened in this COVID that it is very easy to identify the leaders and the laggards, whether it is organization, company. Even within the organization also it is very easy to judge the efficiency and productivity of employee. When we are governed by so many guidelines which is laid down by the government, and we have so many guidelines to protect our employees, still it is a complete paradigm shift with respect to the customer, with respect to organization, with respect to the market also. One more thing which has happened, I'm talking about the mankind, what we have done actually. The concept of, we were talking about the 1960s, when hardly 5% participation was there from Indian companies. And from that time to the paradigm shift till this time, actually the companies are focusing on product, then customer, then employee. Then the paradigm was shifted and it was the customer, then product and employee. But what happened exactly in COVID, that the employees become first now. If our employee is not safe, they are not healthy, we cannot do anything. This is one thing which is very good thing happen, and it is because of the nature actually. If we don't follow the nature, sometimes nature put their own way of influence or leadership, which is happened by the God. I don't know. Now we are following, we are more disciplined. Our pollution level is also decreased, But there are some factors which are very important to understand when we are talking about the sales and marketing. I would, as you rightly asked the question, that how the sales force is working and what kind of skilling or reskilling been imparted actually. Mankind, when decided to go to the field and decided that our field force should go and meet the doctors, it was very, very important for us to take a very proactive call. We should train our field force, and we have included our code of conduct also, and that was a part of their safety, that when they are prepared to go to the market, they have given immense training on this, and we spent a lot of time to prepare them this field force, because their safety is very, very important. And a lot of proactive action decision has been taken, and we are good enough that we are having a leaders like Mr. Rajiv Juneja is the direct owner of this company, and Mr. So our medical reps are totally equipped with the guidelines to have the protection. They carry not only the mask, even the sanitizer. They have their meeting. The doctors started meeting also, and when they are meeting doctors also, even their doctors are motivated and they are influenced with the way our medical team are meeting and keeping the sanitizer, mask, and other kits also and demonstrating. So that is one thing which has happened. A doctor also is inclined to see the employee first, how the employees are coming and meeting the customer, the way they should, because doctors also should feel safe also when they are meeting this kind of field force. And one more thing has happened, even the lot of paradigm shift happened with the chemist stockist also. Even if you cannot go and meet chemists like earlier it was used to. So that also now, as we are having so many digitalization technologies, there are so many apps are there. So now even the chemist also can place the order on app, and they can see the any stockist, what kind of products are available, whether it is available on which offer, whatever is there, complete information is available. So chemists also are more advanced now, and they are also total paradigm shift is there. Even the stockist also now well educated. This business was controlled by the stockists. Earlier they were not very educated, but now because of this COVID also, so stockists also technology savvy, and they are using a lot of technology and advancement, and this is happening. And at doctors' front, I would say that doctors are more decision maker now with respect to the selection of companies. Many companies. I told in the beginning of my communication that many divisions, many small companies, they are shut down, and a lot of reduce in the rush of the customers and field force. So doctors' mind is also shifted now. They are very, very selective, and they want to maintain their relation with the top leaders. I told now it is a time to initiate and differentiate the leaders, the laggers. So doctors also, they want to maintain good relationship with the companies who are very strong with the strategies, with the kind of which I was talking about, the hygiene and sanitation, and when their sales force are well equipped, they are well trained with respect to the prevention. So that's why this is a big paradigm in the doctor's mind also. Now doctors also, they are more inclined to attend webcast kind of webinars, and technology has been used with the doctors also when having the communication with doctors. Overall, if you say it's a complete paradigm shift, and what Mr. Atul was telling about the market, because I'm from HR, although I worked in sales and marketing for almost 20 years when I was with GSK. But overall, market will grow, and the pharma sector will have more and more opportunities for the professionals. And when we'll come to the next question, in the next round, then I will talk about the opportunities in sales and marketing. But this is my area. I'm following this. So this is from my side, Dr. Lalit. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Farhad Umar. I think very nicely you said this is the time, when the laggards and the leaders can be distinguished. I think not only in pharmaceutical industry, but in all types of industry or institution to talk of. कौन काम करना चाहता है, कौन बना के घर में करके है. And you very aptly said that there was time, when the product was more important, the customers were more important, and then the employee came. And now it's again the other way around. The employees have become most important, because unless they are there, nothing can happen. So it is employee, product, and customer. So these are how the things have changed, and very interesting to know that. Of course, the pollution levels have come down, and that all of us know, and we are feeling that particular change. And as you said, a lot of trainings are taking place, and people have caught up with the things like using various apps, becoming e-savvy, and that you said the chemists are also now placing orders. The stockists were one who I would think that they are hardly using computer, but that those people are now also on these particular things. Doctors, I really find a change myself. So when we visit doctor now, all the appointment can happen online. You go immediately, you get. And when you come back home, you get a lot of SMS. Thanks for coming. Thanks for this, which never happened in the past. So things are actually becoming very interesting in these ways. And there is, of course, a paradigm shift. And our students will be happy to know that there will be a lot of growth. That what we have been saying in the Farm Institute Center, the evergreen sector, more opportunities will flow, and that we take in the second part of our panel discussion. So thank you, Mr. Farhad Umar, for your telling us about this particular question. So now the third question will be to Mr. Anand Agarwal. As lockdown in India is getting lifted, almost lifted, in a phased manner to revive the economy, many pharma companies are planning to open up marketing and sale activities in non-containment zones and getting ready for the containment zone as and when they open up. But we are feeling that somehow the industry seems divided on allowing the field force to make visit to the clinics and hospitals in these turbulent times. So, what is the opinion about this? And you can explain to us in detail.
So, thank you, Dr. Lalit, and thanks, Mahana Pratap Institute, for organizing such an event where we are interacting. Among the pharmaceutical professional, we do interact, we do meet at various platforms or the conferences, but meeting in students is always in prior. I mean, they are the young mind, and once you talk to them, and if any of our discussion can help them in their future, will be a great privilege. I think coming to your question, I would say it's not about how industry divides and what's the opinion of an individual is as far as the lockdowns are getting opens up and people started working. I think we have to take it as a very, very positive note. As world cannot remain closed, the whole world cannot remain locked down. This situation may not sustain for the whole life. Once and somebody to take a pause and just click that reset button. That's what happening. That's what I would say. That is what happening. That we have taken a pause. Now it's time for resetting and get start to the work. And that is what happening in pharma too. I would say that you see everywhere. We are at least I would say that we are fortunate that we got in pause for 3 months. There are many service areas where people have not gotten pause also. The doctors, the housekeepers, the service industries, online shoppers, online delivery boys. I mean, those guys have continued to work. So I think we have to get into this mode of coming back to normal, and that's what started happening in pharma. But I would also like to say clearly, which Mr. Farhat has told during his discussion very, very clearly, that utmost important is the guy who is visiting. I think we all know how important that gentleman or the representative or the executive who goes and meet to the doctor. When he goes to the field, they are the bread earner. They are the revenue maker of every company. It's not me sitting in head office. It's the revenue, and the revenues come from the guy on the ground. Even if I'm sitting here and talking to you, it's because of that gentleman who who gave me this position to talk and to stay here. So I think for every company, it's not an individual, but every company is the utmost safety of an individual or an executive is utmost important. And before people went to field, I think every big company has created a total SOP. If you ask the pharmaceuticals, what are they doing? They have created a regional committee, central committee, which regularly update the head office that what is happening on the ground. And there the SOPs of going to the field, what they have to do, what they have to do before field, during field, and post field. So I think those are the serious notes. Safety precaution has been intimated, and that has to be strictly followed. Every manager has been told in the team, a sales team manager, that yes, you have to ensure that your team members are going and following this adherence or adhering this policy. So that is what happening. So I think there's a SOP in place. as well as it is so fluid that today it's not mandatory that you have to go into the field. When we are opening up, it doesn't mean it is mandated. Today also, let us say in my own organization, in last 1 week, there is a gradual opening up and closing. There are constant work from home and going to field. It is so dilute and so fluid. No, the moment your regional head or zonal heads talk to you and tell you that these are the places is now been locked down by the government or the local authorities, the company also follow it. No worry. So these are things that start happening. We all are, the entire policy is becoming fluid. There's a resilience in the system, and that's what's very, very important today. And if you see, it's not just sending them to field and asking them to do X number of calls or X number of customer meeting or no. So that pressure is also been there. It's also not there. Now people have been given a flexibility that you go see whatever comfortably you can meet. Now if they have to meet their customer, they have to meet the clinician, they have to meet the retailer, they have to meet the stockist. Wherever you are comfortable and their other side of the table is comfortable, go and meet. There is no force. There is no compulsion to meet an X number of numbers of customer meetings. That's what happening. So as an organization, the policymakers, the leaders on the top are also fluid in understanding the situation. I would say we have to, now we have to get into the new normal, and we have to do it. We also told them avoid hospitals, avoid corona center, avoid COVID centers. Don't go there. We don't want them their life to be risked. So very, very clearly. And I would say this new normal, it's a great opportunity. It's not just sending them to field, but we, in last 4 months, we have tried to do lots of things which we couldn't able to do before lockdown happened. So I have to see that. If I give you an example, I think we as an organization is using this time to build our foundation. We have been building a great customer profiling. Now we are trying to build up the customer database. We are trying to get closer to the customer. We are trying to understand how the customer behaves. What are his strengths and weaknesses? What are the things that he need to learn? During this time, what are the mode of communication you like to have? So today your communication may not be necessary that physical communication. As even Dr. Lalit during his initial preface, he clearly said that the world is changing to physical, digital and remote. Now, these are the things that is happening. So we are all experimenting those things that what works for us. There are many clinicians or the customer who say that I am happy to have a video call with you. So when take an appointment with me, I'll spend 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes with you, detail your product and go back. I think those are the things that started happening, which was not heard of in pharmaceuticals. There are many clinicians who like to have a WhatsApp call. There are many people who love to have a telecall. There are some of the people who are ready to bring the physical touch to them. So they are giving time outside the clinic, inside the clinic, car parking. So those are the things that changing phase of this. And I think we all have been into learning phase. It's a learning curve. So we are into learning curve. We are all learning it and adopting it, accepting it, and creating the new norms and new regulations. I would say, if you ask me to conclude what is happening, I think it's not pharma. Everybody has to come to new normal. We all have to accept it. Make sure that you follow and adhere a basic safety norm that is prescribed. We should not take any disease granted, and specifically we are fortunate that we are into healthcare and we understand what does a disease mean. If despite being in healthcare and you become careless, I think God can save. So that's what the thing is. I think we all. I would say that again I will have to repeat what I said in the beginning, that it is time to pause and now click that reset button. I will help us to get to the new normal, and we all have been. So that's what I would say, that yes, pharma is also in the part of that league. Thanks, Dr. Ali.
Thank you, Mr. Anand Agarwal. Very nicely said. And I think students are noting, the faculty is noting that you talked about the pause button and the reset button. It's very, very important. And I think this button has to be pressed not on Monday, but intermittently over a week's time, because things are changing so fast. And as you said, that there is no pause for certain services. Doctors, the healthcare workers, and people like that who have been working, even the bank people. So they have been working during these tough times, meeting the customers. And these are the people who are from the medical reps, who are basically the breadwinners. You said breadwinners and maybe the revenue generators. Well, in the end, they are the people at the last point. And it is actually very difficult and to follow the policy and guidelines because they also keep changing so fast. And gradual opening, as you said, and closing is taking place. It cannot be said the government ने सारा खोल दिया. So one has to take a call. 3 days working from home, 3 days again you open it, or whatever type of combination one wants to have. So that is in place. And fluidity is very important because of this fluidity, every industry, every company, or even every institute like us is taking different paths, and it cannot be same. 3 days it will change. For the next week, something else will come up. So that is how we are also working. And at this point of time, I would like to also correlate it to my students here that it is very important to have a learning curve. As you said, that this is the time to build and learn. You are at the companies, pharma companies are actually building up the customer profile, how customer behaves, what can be the mode of communication. There's so many things which one can still do. So likewise, our students should also utilize this time. If the classes are not happening physically, they can do a lot of certification courses. They can attend webinars, not only organized by Maharana Pratap, but by the other institutions. Most of them are free. So they have to increase their own curve. And this is very, very important, students. So please listen to that. It's not only waste your time, find out avenues. And giving some excuses that net is not there or the proper equipment is not there will not take anybody up there. So try to find out your own ways, your own gadgets, your own time, what you want to learn, and then please go ahead. So thank you, Mr. Anand. And now the next question will be to Mr. Sonam Var. So the question which I would like to put is, companies have undertaken a huge leap in adopting technology, and with digitization becoming a new normal, what are the new marketing strategies being taken up by brand managers across India and worldwide? And how effective or challenging is it turning out to be? So, Mr. Soni.
So, sir, first of all, I would like to thank Gaurav Bhadoria ji. I would like to thank you, Rubia, and as well as Maharana Pratap Institute for inviting me as a panelist for this wonderful discussion. It's great to be here with such, I would say, senior people from the industry. So this is a great question, sir. And rather than giving a tactical answer, what I would like to say is, I would like to give a very strategic perspective to students on the call, because I personally believe the students on the call today are the future leaders of our industry. Now, Atul sir made a very pertinent point about this industry. Well, if you look at the pharmaceutical industry, I have been in the industry for 18 years now, and the pharma industry has seen very solid fundamental growth over the last 3-4 decades. So students should feel privileged that they are about to enter an industry which has grown from say about 12,000-13,000 crores annually. Now, if you remember, Atul sir said that today the industry generates that kind of sales monthly. 20 years ago, the industry was generating that kind of sales on a yearly basis. And now the industry is worth about 140 crore rupees annually. That means in the last 2 decades, the industry has grown 10 times. That in simple terms, that means that the industry has virtually doubled every 2 years. Now, if you look at the industry, although somebody might feel that it's a highly fragmented industry, there are so many players, the point is the industry has grown well in spite of so much competition. That means there is room for everyone to grow as far as you get the basics right. Now, somebody might think that, okay, the industry has grown 10 times, it's already at 140 crores annually, but then 140,000 crores annually, will it grow in the future? The point is, look around you. If you look at the situation around you, even today in India, you pick up any major disease or disorder, say, let's talk of diabetes, let's talk of asthma, cardiovascular diseases. Even today, the diagnosis and treatment levels are not 100%. In fact, if you look at major disorders and diseases, the diagnosis levels are barely 50% and the treatment levels are further, I would say, 50% of that. What that means for you is this industry will continue to grow, I would say, at the same pace or even better pace in the coming 2-3 decades. There are many other, I would say, factors beyond this. If you look at, say, the tailwinds that the industry has, there are many factors which are going in the favor of the industry. Typically, household incomes are increasing. Government is, I would say, allocating more funds to healthcare. So I would say that when you enter this industry, you can retire from an industry which will be doing phenomenally well. Now, sir, coming back to your question. Now, of course, the perspective that I'm giving here, the views that I'm sharing here, these are my own views. Of course, they don't reflect that of my organization. But then let's look at the situation in a very strategic way. Now, if you look at digital transformation, so we are looking at digital transformation, we are talking of what companies have done innovatively, differently, say to overcome this crisis. Now, digital transformation does not happen overnight. Digital transformation is a mindset. So if you look around you, you will see that if you look at different industries, they are at a different level of evolution as far as digital transformation is concerned. Some industries are much more advanced, some industries are not that advanced as far as I would say digital transformation is concerned. Now, strategically, if you look at digital transformation, there are three factors which determine how digitally advanced your industry or organization is. Now, what are those three factors? The first critical factor which determines the digital advancedness of your company and industry is how many digital assets has your company developed? How many digital assets have your company developed and how frequently are they using them? So if you look at the pharmaceutical industry, say let's look at say most companies or the industry, say from a pharma point of view, if you talk of digital assets, we can say it can be apps, it can be portals, it can be podcasts, anything that can be say used digitally. But then the way the pharma industry operates, I'm sure none of you can name an app from the pharma industry which has say 1 billion users. Or say, I'm sure you will not be able to name any website which is very popular or say which is very popular with patients or doctors coming from a pharmaceutical company. Of course, there is a lot of evidence which can prove this. Can you name a podcast which is say subscribed by 1 lakh doctors across India? So right now, the answer is not very encouraging, but of course, there are reasons to it. I'll come to that as well. So the first factor is, and I would say students, don't be tactical. You are the future leaders of the industry. Always think strategically. The first factor which determines your digital, I would say, how digitally advanced you are is how many digital assets have you developed and how frequently are you using them. Now let's come to the second factor. Now, what is the second factor which indicates your say digital advancedness? That is how frequently do you interact with your stakeholders, be it customers, be it your vendors digitally. Now, if you look at pharma, say pharma has been primarily an industry which relies on face-to-face selling, personal selling. Now, in India, there are many factors why every company, if you look at say the top companies in India, each one of them has sales rep in excess of say 5,000, 7,000, 10,000. There are many factors why companies have such, I would say, huge sales forces. Of course, India is a very big country. It's a diverse country. If you look at, say, manpower costs in India today, it is relatively, I would say, lower than many advanced countries. So that's the reason why there has been a huge reliance on personal selling. So if you look at, say, how frequently do companies digitally interact with doctors, the answer is low. But of course, there are reasons for it. And even if you look at the digital interaction, it primarily is restricted again with a sales rep taking out I would say a tablet and detailing to a doctor from a tablet, which probably is the most common digital interaction companies have with doctors. So that is factor number 2. Now, what is the third factor which determines how digitally advanced your company is or your industry is? It is what kind of digital tools has the company given to its employees, or say how well is the field force trained digitally to use digital tools. Now, again, if you look at the current situation, primarily, if you look at the pharma sales force, the biggest digital tool I would say most of them have is a tablet, which they use to say detail their products in the clinic. Of course, from a head office perspective, you see many companies deploying webcast centrally. Of course, there are emailing campaigns that are done. But then over here, I feel there is a great scope to improve. And see, if we look at all three factors, of course, if you look at the third factor, most companies have given their sales force tablet computers. Most training has gone online. I would say even before COVID, many training programs used to happen online with the sales force. That is true. But then I would say, as far as these three factors are concerned, the industry can do much more. Now, there has been a certain way in which the industry has operated for the past 5-6 decades. Of course, these ways have worked. So, we already saw how pharma has grown in the last 2-3 decades, phenomenal growth. There are very few industries which have probably grown in this manner, grown 10 times in 20 years, doubling once every 2 years. So the industry has operated in a certain way, and that way has been successful. Now, nobody predicted that, okay, we will see a pandemic, which is a once in a century kind of a pandemic, once in a century kind of a business challenge. Nobody could have predicted this. But then, that being said, I feel that this current COVID pandemic will be a kind of a watershed moment for the industry. So after this, so right now you would have felt that, okay, three factors: digital assets, how well you interact digitally with your customers, or how well your own people are equipped with digital tools. See, in the past, pharma industry would not have been the most digitally advanced industry, but right now, I think this is a moment where everything will change. So although things have been a certain way for the past 5-6 decades, personally, I feel in the next 1 or 2 years, you will see some phenomenal work being done by companies. And right now, this would not be good to judge. So, Lalit sir, say if you have to ask me for examples that what say great has happened in the past 3 months, it would be a bit unfair to say judge industry on its innovativeness in the past 3 months. But sir, do watch out. In the next 1 or 2 years, you will see some great examples from some great companies, because I personally feel India has amazing companies, amazing people. We'll see in the next 1 or 2 years great things happening around us. And this is my perspective. So, sir, if you ask me for great examples, I would say look at it strategically. These three factors, we'll see them making great progress in the next 1 or 2 years.
Thank you, Mr. Somwa. And I'm sure the students have understood very nicely, very aptly. You have put up in various points. And the first important thing you said is that the support which is coming from the government, the policies in this particular time to the pharmaceutical industry is phenomenal, and that is the positive thing which everybody looks at. And you also said that the household's income has increased over last few years or last few decades, and that also has helped further growth. And the one more important thing you said, first for digital change, everything is the mindset first. Only when the mindset will change, then you can go in for the gadgets and other things. So this point should be noted, that first change should happen in the minds of the management, if we take in the case of our institute, the faculty, the heads, and then of course the students. And the three factors which you said of measurement, how the particular industry or a particular organization is doing. The first one you said was how well you are equipped with the computers, how many portals you have made, how many webcasts, how many applications. So that could be a measurement parameter. So keep increasing on that. Keep increasing number of people who are making these apps. So this could be one very good factor for measurement. The second was the personal selling. You said about the factor of personal selling. Initially it was face-to-face selling. And in India could be 5,000, 7,000 reps doing that. So that factor needs a change, may get changed. The third factor being what kind of digital tools are being given to the employees by the organization, by any organization. And how are the tabs or the latest types of mobiles, or it could be laptops. So with certain parameters, some other different parameters, the measurement should take place to understand how much we have gone the e-way. And you said things will change, and rightly so. Nothing can happen in 2-3 months. You said it should take 2-3 years time, and rightly so. It will take some time, and I'm sure that the Indian pharma industry, which is in the top 3, will be the number 1 in the upcoming 2 years. So that's my take from this. Thank you very much for the first round to all the 4 panelists. And now we'll have a second round, which will be a shorter round. Second round, we'll have a question which will help a student understand about the pharma sector. We'll have one question, and we would like to request you to answer that in 4 to 5 minutes in the interest of time. And then after that, we'll do some summary, 2 to 2 minute summary from each one of us. So now this time, my next question is to Mr. Farhat Umar. Sir, What is the impact of COVID-19 on job vacancies in sales and marketing in the pharma industry? Simple one, but our students will benefit from this.
As I was talking in my presentation, talking last time, I ended my communication that India will have a good opportunities in sales and marketing with respect to pharma industry. The reason is this: you will see that many top brand companies will be operating in future. You know, it is a question of leadership who are going to lead this market. Actually, the market's totally shifted to a new dimension where I already said that the employee, their efficiency and their presentation will matter, and the company who are strong in pipeline of the product and strong in the strategies, and they are ready to invest in the kind of human experience, which is a prominent word in new normal. They will be there, and then the students will have a better opportunity to choose also. What happened in sales and marketing in pharma, actually, when you have more number of companies and when the students are coming out from academics, and they are a bit confused and they are looking for job, and they join some company. Actually, here I would say that they should be very good leaders. Even they are students also, they should behave like a leaders. Then their decisions should be very strong, and they should have a complete knowledge of the companies where they are going to work, because it's a question of career, and it is not the same market that you can switch over, because the option will be limited, but the opportunities will be more stronger with respect to the career growth and other features of the job. So pharma is a very strong sector, and the Indian government is also very focused on, especially the area of concern like API. 70% API comes from China to Indian market, and the major therapeutic areas we are dependent on others. So government is also very lucrative. They have good benefits also now for the pharma companies who are focusing on APIs. And one more thing is very important to understand in pharma, that the students should understand the business model of the company, which is very important, because we don't know this virus. We know that this is a virus, but there are many unknown viruses in the world, and which will be knowing once the time will come. But this time it will be more faster. Actually, it is happened after a long gap, pandemic. But now the life will be more, will have more challenges. The market will have more unpredictable kind of challenges. So that's why they should read and they should understand the companies well, and they should have a better knowledge of not only the subjects of their pharmacy. I think they should have a complete knowledge of, especially I would say leadership skill is very important. That they should have a ability to analyze the market, the latest trend of the market, and they should take a right decision also. So opportunities will be there, but it will be very selective, and the most talented people will be in demand, because it's an era of leaders and laggards. I think students have the better opportunity to equip themselves. They have time also to develop according to the change, which is a requirement. Yes, Dr. Len.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Farad, for responding to that. The second question is to Mr. Atul Suri. What are the industry expectations from the students aspiring to make a career in pharmaceutical industry? Sir, are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So industry's expectations from your students to make it big in the pharma, is that your question?
Yes.
All right. Broadly, I think Farad had covered many points, extremely significant for the students today to sort of pick up, so that they're far more, like I always call it, battle ready on day one. So what I will do is I will just cover, since I have just 3 to 4 minutes to speak. Usually when I speak at various forums and colleges and universities, I dedicate to the topic of corporate India's expectations of students once they come in from campus to corporate. But I'll try and sort of within 3-4 minutes just give them the key things that we look forward to. Insofar as the education is concerned, of the learnings that are concerned, the knowledge transfer, I think our colleges are doing a reasonably good job academically. They're able to get them up to speed with the basics. And of course, once they debouch out from the colleges into the industry, depending on the streams that they get into, they will learn while on the job. And I don't look at that as a problem. What I definitely look at as a problem, not a real problem really, but areas where these children who come in, students who come in to become professionals can improve. I usually put it under a few C's. Typically you would have seen when I was speaking of the industry, I spoke of some D's with the vaccine, I spoke of some R's for the recovery route. So as far as getting into corporate India is concerned, I'll talk about some C's. The first C that I always talk of is communication, and everybody speaks about it. Everybody knows it's important. But the sad part is people do not work towards improving their communication. And by communication, I do not just mean verbal communication. More importantly, since everything is in a mail or is written in a letter, is even written expression. There has to be clarity. That's the other C. When you have clarity, it has to be both. It has to be clarity of thought. It has to be clarity of expression. Expression, verbal, written, both. I find a lot of people are quite, again, confused with all these things. But if they have this clarity of thought and clarity of expression, they will see a very smooth sailing in corporate. The other thing that I demand of all students who come in and join our companies is to continue with childlike curiosity. Childlike curiosity. That little child who's at home, he's always asking you, Papa, ye kya hai? Bhaiya, wo kya hai? That should be the same attitude you should have when you join your company. You keep asking questions. Let your hand-holding manager, let your buddy in the company get fed up of you. But that's the only way you will learn. Childlike curiosity. Ask questions. Clear your mind. Only then will you get clarity of thought. What we also expect from students who come in embarking on their careers in the pharma industry is a little bit of creativity. It's a very important aspect, creativity. I'm saying that again, creativity, because a lot of it is not happening. People in the industry have got a tremendous amount of baggage. They can't just think beyond their little cubicle, which is called thinking out of the box. So when you come in, you should come in with a very fresh perspective. You should be creative. You should just be, and that's the next C I'm coming to, of courageous. You have a great idea. You think it's a great idea. It will become a great idea only if you talk about it. Have the courage to talk about it. Be creative. Have the courage. Talk about that idea. That idea that is in your mind will only then become a great idea. Otherwise, वो आप लोगों के दिमाग में ही रह जाएगा. वो कभी execute नहीं हो पाएगा. So have the courage to get up and say, yes, I think it's a great idea. I tell my teams very often, just talk. Let it be nonsense. I've always seen a lot of sense also emerges from nonsense. So have that courage to talk about it. The other important aspect that I demand of people who come in is to have a very collaborative spirit. Again, another C. You have to work in collaboration. You can't work in silos anymore. You can't say, ye mera kaam hai, main hi karunga. It just doesn't work. You have to be part of the team. You have to collaborate, walk across. Don't just get into, main email bhejunga, main phone pe uske baat karunga. That's all okay in a COVID situation where you're, locked down. But if you're in the offices, have the courage to walk on those corridors, go tap a guy on his back and say, boss, ye jara mereko samjha, ya ye isko jara jaldi approval karo, mera ye kaam ruka hua hai, mera wo kaam ruka hua hai. Have that courage, have that communication, and that will lead to a greater collaboration, because all alone you can do nothing. You have to collaborate with everybody. And what I definitely, and this is the last thing, I know I'm running out of time. Like I told you, I usually spend 2 hours on this subject when I speak at forums, is what is unnegotiable, not negotiable at all, is commitment. When you people come in, you have to be totally committed to the job that you're doing. You can be seen through very easily. We've all been in the industry for 20, 30. I have 32 years of seeing people at work. You can in a minute know whether ये time pass के लिए आया हुआ है यहाँ पे या ये आदमी committed है. And the impressions that you make then and the foundations that you lay for yourself then are the ones that you will grow with. And those are the ones that will get you the success that you demand. So in nutshell, since I just have 5 minutes, I will only talk of these few C's: communication, childlike curiosity, creativity, collaboration, courageous, and definitely commitment. So this is the expectation that we have from you when you come into your jobs in your new companies. That's all, Dr. Lalit. Thank you.
Thank you so much for all the C's. And I think we will have some separate session for you for our students, and that will definitely help. Thank you so much. So my next question is to Mr. Anand Agarwal. How can we improve placement avenues for fresh pharma graduates, as it has been seen that big pharma companies do not prefer recruiting fresh students? So something you would like to hear on that?
So I think very, very apt question, and this question must be running in the mind of all the attendees too. And this is the reality of life. Most of the larger pharmaceutical companies have started opting for an experienced guy rather than taking a fresher one, because they get an asset which quickly adaptable, quickly trainable, and quickly create a revenue out of it. That's the purpose of it. But I would not say that the doors of fresher is closed. I think very clearly communicated by Mr. Bharat and Mr. Atul then to take you through that what is the expectation that organization set for. I think once somebody can pick up the crux of these two lectures, these two communication which has taken place in last 10 minutes, I think it opens up lots of doors, and that's what an organization needs. No, as in pressure, it's not just pressure about it, but as I told that, and I keep writing. I just started in last lockdown 4 months. I've just built up my interest in writing. I've already written 4 articles during lockdown and posted on LinkedIn, and now the fifth article which I'm writing is on adversity. And there's a quote by Einstein that every adversity is an opportunity to introspect yourself. Adversity is in a mirror. I think when adversity comes, we all have talked in last 1.5 hours time. We have all spoken about what newness coming up. What is the new normal that is coming up? So I would say when the newness coming up, everybody, it's not about the student, even the institution which teach them. Dr. Lalit, you are the director of the institution. You all have to start thinking, and they already started thinking. I'm not saying that you are not, but you would have already started thinking that what new we have to do. You have to skill your students to the new demand of market. I pick up the one C out of the 7 C's which he talks. I think very important. The first C that he talked is the communication. Today, and Mr. Bharat being in HR, he must be knowing what the quality of communication we encounter when we interact. Most of the even experienced guy can't speak a single, sometimes so average in talking. I think we don't have an option that do we need to choose him or not just because of his experience you take in. I think it is the time that we have to see what are the weaknesses lying in the current pharmaceutical industry and where I can pitch in. I would say that is what every institution which teach pharmaceutical guys or which teaching you are into education. You have to see that what are the weaknesses in the industry. I think if somebody has to work around the communication, it's not about verbal. How do you communicate? How do you dress up? How do you present yourself? How do you talk? Give them reading material, inculcate a habit of reading. I think those things would give them confidence. And so once an experienced guy pitch in and enter in your room and he talk, and once a fresher guy comes in and he talk, I think if level of communication can first, this is the first thing that you impress an interviewer on. I would rather work upon that. This time is a time when you will not get in time again. You will not get such a beautiful time that to introspect yourself. I would say that people have to work upon adding those skills. And those skills should be added by the individuals also, as well as the institutions too. Bring in digital competency. The second thing, this is a demand of the hour. That's the demand of the hour. You cannot isolate yourself. Third thing which I would like to communicate is that it's not pharma doesn't end with medical representative. Now, pharma and healthcare, which initially when Mr. Atul was sharing that whole thoughts around it, pharma is beyond medical representative. Today the world just see pharma is like sales team. No. Pharma has got marketing wing, pharma has a production wing, pharma has got R&D wing, pharma also has an as in digital things, the whole every bigger pharmaceutical company today has digital stream in their organization. Why can't people have to see what are the avenues he can earn around, what skill he can add and where he can pitch in? I would say that has to be looked at. That yes, pharma is beyond medical representative and marketing executive. I would say we use this time to build up that depth. Secondly, let us say I would also have an idea that when a bigger companies close their doors for a fresher guy, why can't the fresher join a smaller company? No, there are many middle tier companies and many smaller companies which are ready to take up the fresher. And that smaller company has a great advantage. They give you lots of challenges. They will make you like no, it's like वो कहते हैं ना बिना प्रेशर के तो दाल भी नहीं पकती. It's the same. Once you go to the smaller company, you get in that pressure and you get that challenges to generate and sales. You become more sharper. Join there 6 months. Many of the guys I have seen in last 2-3 years, they join in smaller companies, get an experience of 6 months to 12 months, and then they apply for a larger companies, and they will age over other guys. So I would say that these freshers should look at the revenues. The last thing is that they should be mobile. Many of the people around in sales and marketing institutes, they are very rigid, affinity towards a particular metros. Sir, I would like to go to Lucknow only, or I want to go to the Kanpur only. No, pharma is looking for the guy in Ita also. Pharma also need a guy in Sultanpur. Pharma need a guy in Azamgarh. They should bring that flexibility around them. Because I am ready to move any part of the world. Even if you send me to Kollam, I will go. I mean, that will fascinate the interviewer, sir. I am fluid. I am here to make a career, not about staying at home and working. So these are the aspects that people can do it. I think work upon the communication. That I would say. I think look at this adversity as an opportunity to introspect what are the weakness in the system. And the communication. Add additional skills about your digital competencies. Be mobile. Let us have a fluid or gain an experience in a smaller company, then fight for the larger company later. That's what I wanted to communicate. I think the avenue doesn't end. Opportunity is always there. Somebody has to see that where should I pitch in and which door I should knock at. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Mr. Anand Agarwal. And I think that now we'll have the last question to Mr. Soham Wag. That is, what are your suggestions for the students who are aspiring to make career in pharmaceutical marketing in future? What are the skills they need to work upon in advance while they are still studying? While Mr. Azul has already spoken about the C's, anything you would like to add on those things?
Yeah, of course. So, especially after Farad sir, Atul sir, and Anand have added so many points, it's very difficult for me to add something new after them. You put me in a very difficult, so you put me in a difficult spot, Lalit sir.
But sum up from my side.
So, but still, I would like to say a few points, rather important ones. And in fact, I would still emphasize with what Atul sir and what Anand said about communication skills. So, of course, even if you look at, say, nowadays everybody's using this term pre-COVID, post-COVID, I personally feel some skills are timeless. So some skills will always be valued no matter what happens, whether there is COVID or any other pandemic or any other global meltdown. So say, which are these timeless skills? I would say I completely agree with Atul sir and Anand. Communication skills will be something which will be valued always. Also, we are in an industry which deals with human life. So I personally feel all the students here on the call should have excellent knowledge of the disease area and the products that they're dealing with. And of course, something as simple as relationship building. So you have so many stakeholders. As say a future salesperson or a marketeer, I think as Atul sir said, you cannot work in silos. You have to be collaborative. And that collaboration happens when you are good at building relations with different people you work with. So I think personally, if you ask me, these skills are timeless. No matter what happens, these skills will always be valued. Now, I would like to give a different perspective on why communication skills will be so important going forward. Now, in the past, say many a times, I have heard this. I'm saying something which is something very practical. So many a times I have heard this. The regional manager or the area manager says, अरे वो लड़के के कम्युनिकेशन स्किल्स इतने अच्छे नहीं है लेकिन लेग वर्क बहुत अच्छा है, वो ना बहुत सिंसियर है, डॉक्टर को रेगुलरली मिल लेता है कि ना वो उसको पसंद है, वो हार्डवर्क करता है, इससे डॉक्टर्स उसके प्रोडक्ट लिख रहे हैं. See that now going forward, see your face-to-face interaction is not going to be zero, but your virtual interaction is going to increase. Now say the sales rep of the future or the marketeer of the future, as Anand rightly mentioned, you have to pick up digital skills. Now your communication skills will not be say restricted to only meeting the doctor face-to-face. Wahan pe hard work, sincerity work. But if you don't have good communication skills when you are say interacting on a virtual platform with a doctor, your chances of success will be zero. Because say if you cannot effectively communicate over virtual platforms, which will increasingly be used in the future, your life will be difficult. And see, panelists before me have made this point, so use this, I would say, lockdown to your benefit. Say watch videos. There are programs like Toastmasters, many a time. So I have been fortunate enough in visiting 50 colleges across India. Students know their weaknesses, but unfortunately they don't work on them, and communication skills is biggest, I would say, amongst these weaknesses. So that being said, I think the second most important skill, which I feel, of course there are many more, but the second most important skill I feel is having excellent disease area and excellent product knowledge. Say no matter how difficult a customer you are meeting, they will always respect you if you have excellent disease knowledge and excellent product knowledge. So a typical doctor is met by hundreds of sales reps. Now, if you are that particular sales reps who knows the disease area and the products better than others, the customers will respect you, they like you, they will in fact look forward to your visits. And what will happen is, say in the future, say we don't know when COVID is going to end. It can be say 2 months, it can be say 6 months, it can be say 1 year. You never know. Say going by history, in the past we have seen, say when Spanish flu happened, there was a huge second wave as well. You never know, that might happen with COVID as well. So as students, say virtual interactions will increase. Now that sincerity, hard work will not help you virtually. So if you are having virtual discussions with doctors, what will help you is excellent disease knowledge, excellent product knowledge. So be a lifelong learner. Don't stop learning just because you've got a call and you're a sales guy. Don't move away from science. So the stronger you are on science, the disease knowledge, the product knowledge, you will be able to make yourself, I would say, you can differentiate yourself from others. So I know there can be many skills. For me, two of the skills matter the most. Like the other panelists said, communication skills, and I've told you why, and knowledge around the disease area and the products as well. Because as you go forward, you will see more and more complex products will come into pharma. So if you have good disease and product knowledge, you will be able to sustain yourself for long in the industry.
Thank you, Mr. Som. I think we have completed the second round. And before we end, I think we'll have just two minutes each. All the 4 panelists, something you would like to say in a couple of sentences for our students or for the industry or for a debate which we had. So first I'll start with Mr. Farhad Umar. Just a few lines from you, sir.
First of all, thank you so much, Dr. Lalita and the management of your college for inviting me with a group of I really learned many things from Anand, Atul, and so on, and you also. So it was really important for me, and I really enjoyed my time. And as I already said, that if students, they don't have to worry about that, they have to become leader and other skills which was being said by our colleagues here, the panelists, that communication and all. But I think it is more of a leaders kind of thing. People, they will be surviving in coming days, whether it is organization, whether it is students or human, everywhere, whether it is a personal or professional life. I think everywhere you will find that only leadership will be there. So thank you so much. Once again, I wish all the best to your college, your students, and all the panelists. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Atul Suri, sir.
Yeah, so in the interest of time, I'll just echo whatever Farhad has said insofar as our interactions as panelists, and also my thanks to the Institute for getting us on this platform. I just leave a parting little statement with the students here today. COVID or no COVID, normal, new normal, whatever that may be, my little advice to you is this, that you need to be extremely adaptable. You have to be nimble, and you have to be extremely agile in whatever you do. Let me just give you a personal example. You've seen it in my biography, which went up when the program started. I was serving in the Indian Army 27 years, and it was not the medical corps. I was in the armored corps, the ones that drive tanks and fire big 125 rounds. I then just switched. I've looked after L&D for barely 8-10 months, an HR role for a year, and today I'm leading 6 business divisions of the company. So it's all because of adaptability, nimbleness, and agility, and a willingness to learn. We spoke in our very first segment of a learning curve. My advice to you all is let that learning curve be a steep learning curve. Every day, learn something new. That's the only secret for success. Thank you. Do well. May God bless
Thank
you
you.
all.
Thank you so much. Mr. Anand Agarwal.
So I think I echo what Atul and Bharat said. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to MGPI. Thank you, Dr. Lalit. Thanks, Rubia, who getting this thing organized. And I think great all the students. I think it's always pleasure when you talk to the young minds. I think sometimes I interacted in around 2 months back with your institution pharmacy guys. Rubia arranged an interaction with me on. It was a two-way. So there people have raised questions and they challenge many of the challenging questions came in, and those also add the learning. That make your learning curve and they challenge you. And those I enjoyed that thing, and I keep echoing the same thing which Mr. Atul said. Nothing to add more. I think big difference. Learning agility makes a big difference. I think let us have that curve high, and make sure. I think world is full of opportunity. Don't worry. COVID is gone over and nothing remains same. So let's have that. Enjoy yourself, enjoy your life. Don't worry too much about the disease or something or your career. It will come. Be in present and skill yourself. That's it in your hand, and I think that makes a difference to your life. Thank you all the students.
And Mr. Sohamwag.
Thank you very much, sir. Well, nothing much to say. What I will recommend students is don't have any mental barriers. So don't have any mental barriers. Be open to new experiences. As Bharat sir said, be leaders in your own way. So you don't need a title to be a leader. And also, say pharmaceutical industry, I would say most companies are phenomenal places to work. So don't have any mental barriers that I will only work in these set of companies. I will not work here. Just remember, wherever you work, your companies will be thinking about your best interest. So whatever they expect from you, do that, and slightly something beyond that. You will have a phenomenal career. Don't worry, be positive. I'm sure a great world awaits you. I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, panelists. And before I hand over to Rubia ma'am for a formal vote of thanks, I would just like to thank once again all of you from my side, from Maharana Pratap Group Institution side. And of course, I would like to thank Mr. Gaurav Bhaduria, who is not here with us today, the man behind the scene, the head of the management. So I would like to express my sincere thanks to him. And Dr. Vikram Sahu, I think most of you may be knowing him, is the head of our pharmaceutical institutes. So and to Rubia for organizing so efficiently this particular. Rubia, could you propose a thanks?
Sure, sir. Thank you so much, Dr. Lalit, and thank you to all the panelists. I must say that it has been an absolute honor to hear the insights on pharmaceutical industry, and especially coming it from the horse's mouth itself. Like the one thing I much appreciate about the COVID situation is that even sitting at the distant, we are getting the opportunity to hear from the industry experts because of the digital platforms which are available to us, which was usually not possible in the normal situation because of the travel constraints, because of the busy schedules of the industry leaders. So thank you once again for helping our students with the insights, and we are definitely going to take your words in practice. And thank you so much, sir. So with this, we have come to the end of our today's discussion. I'm sure our students and our listeners have found this session informative and valuable. So lastly, on behalf of Maharana Pratap Group of Institutions, Kanpur, I'd like to extend my sincere thanks to all our panelists, Mr. Farhad sir, Mr. Anand sir, Atul sir, and Soham sir, for sharing their time and insights with us. We thank helping us to look forward to a better, brighter future, hopefully. I'd also like to thank all our students and listeners who have joined us today, and also those who are listening us live on Facebook page. And for those who could not attend the session, they can any day visit our website and our Facebook page, which is mpgi.edu.in, and you can have a look at the session at the later time itself. So until we meet again, stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Can we leave?